JF Stretford, Paddock. This is Paddock Live. That's Joe Smith. And we've gone all, football commentating.
We're all like on the touchline of the World Cup games, don't we?
Yeah. Tell us your thoughts on that epic game. We're going to be getting into a little bit about the World Cup final because it's going to be Lisandro Martinez versus Rafael Varane. We know that France are playing Argentina in the World Cup. We're going to talk about the more important issue of who Manchester United's striker signing in January is going to be, because I think it looks like the Reds are going to bring someone in. Go on.
There's been some pretty big, Rob Dawson, who's friend of the channel, very reliable journalist, is saying that we've been heavily linked and we're really looking at a number of strikers at the minute. So we're going to go through all of those, make sure we know the latest. But some, I wouldn't say massive sort of steps forward, but in terms of concrete evidence that we are linked with some of the players that we've been sort of rumoured towards in the last few weeks, we are actually starting to get that now. So it's big steps forward, I would say. Yeah,
the most important thing, though, is you lot get involved in the chat and the comments and let us know what you think about the stories we're covering. We want to hear from you guys, and make sure as well you are hitting that like button. And if you've not done already, subscribe to the channel. Right, should we start off with the first one? You were mentioning there about Rob Dawson. Go on, I'll let you talk us through it.
Yeah, Gonzalo Ramos. So you can see here, Ramos inquiry. Ten Hag has been told it's not certain that the striker, a striker will arrive next month, which we'll get into in a minute. We can see there, United are set to make an inquiry about the availability of Gonzalo Ramos ahead of the January window. Benfica were considering bids of around €20 million before the start of the season, but Ramos' stock has risen considerably after scoring a hat-trick in the World Cup round of 16 tie against Switzerland. And also after bagging loads of goals this season as well. He's turned his sort of goal scoring up quite a lot, quite substantially compared to what it was last season. He's really basically he's becoming a real goal scorer now, whereas before he was just a young player that was playing up front. Now he's looking like he's starting to turn that into actual numbers and actual goals, which is it's going to make the price go up, isn't it?
I'm against this idea of buying someone because he had a good game against Switzerland.
Yeah.
Right. I said before the World Cup, I don't want us buying anyone based just on the World Cup. Cody Gakpo scored World Cup goals, but we were linked with him before that. He's just sort of added to his aura.
All that might have done is put his price up slightly, but he's not a new target because of the World Cup.
Because of the World Cup. Now, you're right, obviously, about Gonzalo Ramos banging him in for Benfica. He's having a very good season. Yeah. Was he linked with United before the World Cup? No. Should he be linked with us now? He's got that hat-trick against Switzerland? I don't think so. I'll be honest with you. I'm not that keen on this one. No. Because I feel like it will just be, we've bought him off the back of a good game against Switzerland.
Yeah.
And that is worrying for me.
Yeah, and even if it's not that, pundits, the press, Twitter, social media, everyone will be saying, well, that's why you bought him.
Yeah.
They only got him because of one game after against Switzerland. Back to that whole thing of like United's transfer, United's scouting department taking the piss. We've had all this for years, and rightly so, but we're trying to sort of move towards this new system where Ten Hag brings players to the attention of Richard Arnold and John Murtaugh. You don't want it to look like this sort of amateurish, oh, he was good in one game, let's buy him, selection process. Do you know what I mean? We need to be better than that.
Can I ask you one thing, though? Because there is still the slight possibility that if Anthony Martial's fit, and I know it's in a big if, then whoever comes in next might have to play second fiddle to him. Would he not fit that bill in a way? Because if you did buy him, would he not be someone who you could rotate, who could be coming in, who could also get better as well?
Yeah. So that's, to be fair, that is the main. We're going to go through some of these players. We've got Gakpo, we've got Felix, we've got other people coming up. That's the one benefit of Ramos, because he's young, because he doesn't have that sort of stature on the world stage yet where, even Gakpo, I know that he could come in and he could take a while to get adjusted, but 50 million quid, this, a player that is used to scoring a lot of goals, getting a lot of assists, being successful, and João Felix is, been playing for Atletico Madrid for the last few years.
Actor, obviously, who's just been allowed back on Twitter. Not this James Woods, that's the answer, sorry. He's in the comments. He's been a member of the first team for 6 months. Make sure you check out our membership section as well. We're doing the 12 days of Paddock. That's our annual Christmas giveaway where you can win a host of prizes, including £500 in your hand. Yeah.
If you want to have a chance of winning £500, you'll automatically be entered if you are a member. So join the membership, get the extra content, extra videos, all that good stuff, and have a chance of winning £500. You don't have to do anything once you're in there. There's no entering, there's no this, there's no that. Join the membership and you will automatically be entered. So check that out.
He says, feels like forever since Garnacho's winner at Fulham. Can't wait to see Eric's tricky Reds back in action.
Yes.
Jay, you're a class journalist, mate. Thank you, James. Honesty. That's what we like on this channel, yeah? About time we had a bit of it. Also, let's have a look at some of the other comments as well. It says it's cutting out here a little bit. Sorry about that if you are. It says you're breaking up. We've sorted it now, though, so there shouldn't be any more technical issues there. Good. So thank you for bearing with us. Yeah, the one with Ramos is if we get him not too... he's not too expensive and he can work and he can progress. I'm all for that. And listen, I'll get behind anyone who arrives at Old Trafford, But I'm just a little bit wary that it's that 1 hour against Switzerland that's making us go, he's our guy. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think we need to see a little bit more of him. Darwin Núñez was banging in goals for Benfica. And there's a big question mark around him. Do you know what I mean? So, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Should we move on to the next one?
Yes. We're looking at Cody Gakpo. At this point, I'll be honest, I'll be pissed off if we don't sign Cody Gakpo.
Really?
It just seems right, doesn't it? It seems so right. How can it be wrong? Do you know what I mean? Like, we're linked with him all the time. He clearly wants to join. Everyone's saying that this is possible. Like, apparently we were quoted around 30 million euros for him in the summer. Like, that's too little to if he is a target, to not go for him. Surely. Do you know what I mean? You can't get first-team players from Manchester United for 30 million euros. Like, if that's an option, if we're even looking at 40 or 50 million now, you can see there, they're looking at potentially closer to 50 million euros. Sources have also told ESPN that PSV are keen to keep Gakpo in January to help their bid to win a first Eredivisie title since 2018. If they can do that, or if United can get him for 50 million, surely we have to. What do you make of him?
Yeah, I mean, I understand your comment there about, if we don't get him now, you'd be annoyed because it feels like it has been going on a little bit. He wants to come. Erik ten Hag obviously wants him. He's a very good player. He looks like someone who fits in, who could fit in. I know he prefers to come in off the left, but he can play down the middle as well. I also think there's the opportunity here for maybe a little bit of rotation, maybe a little bit, not just rotation as in him starting, Marcus not starting, but maybe him and Marcus even both starting and swapping round. Because Marcus down the middle isn't my preference, but he can play down there. He's done it quite well, actually, under Erik ten Hag. This kid is the same. So who knows? Jacob Morris says in the super chat, these we spend a lot in the summer, stories are worrying me. It feels like the excuse train has already left the station for winter signings. I understand that, and I get what you're saying. I feel like even though we have spent a lot in the summer and they might be going, we haven't got what to spend the winter. I feel like if we can really get the right signing in, make that push for the top four, then what we've heard from sort of the people in the know or the people that understand these things about the sale by the Glazers, we're much more attractive as a club if we're in those Champions League places and we've got a good, strong, young squad. And a striker adds to that. If you've got a club that isn't in the Champions League, that needs a lot of investment in the team as well as off the pitch with the stadium and the training ground as well, then it's less likely you're going to get less money. It's like a good investment almost. Because listen, I don't think the Glazers, I fucking hate the Glazers, you know my thoughts. Anyone who's watched this channel knows my thoughts on those parasites. But I think they'll realise, or they should realise, that if we get someone like Gakpo, got a decent squad there, we've got a good chance of getting in that top four. When bids come in, you can go, look, there's a good young squad here. We're a good bet for the Champions League next season. Yeah. You're going to get at least 100 million revenue from that. You're set. If you're going, we're fifth, we've just lost Ronaldo, we haven't replaced him, it's not as likely you're going to get the higher end of the offers.
Can I introduce you to what is almost sort of some backwards logic, but my brain is doing it and I can't help it, and I want to admit it.
Yeah.
Is there part of you, like there is part of me, where you sort of go, he's too cheap to be any good? Like, how can a player producing these sorts of numbers, same amount of goals and assists as Haaland this season, be worth or valued at half of what Darwin Núñez went for, of what João Felix went for from Benfica, like only 2/3 of what Nkunku's going for to Chelsea, just over half of what Fofana went to Chelsea for, like less than Lisandro Martinez went to Ajax to Man United for. Like, he's a striker, which is meant to be an attacker, which is meant to be the most expensive position on the pitch. He is literally 18 goals, 18 assists this season, which is more than double any United player in either category. And yet we're looking at closer to under 50 million euros. Am I just being thick? Or am I just being like overly scared? How is he so cheap? How is that possible?
He's too cheap to be any good.
Yeah.
Is the sort of the most repetitive comment on my OnlyFans page. To be honest with you.
How much are you charging again?
12p.
What, a week?
A monthly subscription. Not got any subscribers yet.
At that point, Jay,
Yeah.
Jay, you just think he's doing this for himself, isn't he? He's not in it for the cash. That doesn't even pay his internet bill, let alone some of those things he's sticking up.
No, I understand your reservations.
Like, do you know when you go into like a restaurant?
Yeah.
And you're like, chicken tikka masala, $2.99. You're like, what ingredients can be, like, what set of sort of footballing characteristics can be in this recipe for it to cost 50 million euros?
So it's always embarrassing when you take your better half out for a meal.
Yeah.
And they look at the menu and the most expensive thing's like £3.
Yeah, you're like, it's okay.
Look, night out, I told you I'd treat you.
You can have a starter and
Yeah.
everything. What? Onion bhaji, 80 pence. That's not even like a 81p. What is that? It's not even a round number.
I understand it. I'll be honest with you.
Is that just stupid?
No,
being
it's
like
not. There is
idiot?
this. I think the sort of fly in the ointment is his contract is due to run out. So they're sort of...
When?
I think it runs out...
End of next season?
Yeah, I think he's got one more season, I presume. I don't think he's got 6 months left. So I think that's why you're looking at a sort of much more reasonable price. I think the World Cup's probably increased his value a little bit because he had a very good World Cup. But that is probably why he's not. And also, this is a kid who I imagine hasn't really... I don't think he's played. Has he played in the Champions League? Is he...
No.
Right,
I can't imagine what... No, he can't.
Yeah, so he's still a little bit of an unknown quantity at the very highest level. No disrespect to the Dutch league. So, yeah, I think there's different reasons there. But I do understand it. And my one thing is, I have to be honest with you, I'm not a Cody Gakpo expert. My sort of knowledge of him comes from his stats and the World Cup games and a couple of videos I've watched on YouTube. I watched videos of Gabriel Obertan on YouTube and he looked mint. Do you know what I mean? I watched him at Old Trafford. He was shite.
I saw the Wolfsburg game the other day where, do you know where Michael Owen gets a hat-trick?
Yeah.
Obertan was fantastic that game. But other than that, not really.
He was. I remember watching him for the reserves and he was phenomenal.
Yeah.
And then you put him in the first team, he was garbage. So I don't know a lot about him. I trust Erik ten Hag. If Erik ten Hag obviously rates him, wants him, sees a way for him fitting into this team, then for that price, get him. We need to increase our squad, especially since Ronaldo's left.
Speaking of World Cup reaction,
Go on.
United maybe getting a price boost on Gakpo. Ramos looking like he could be, turning heads after that game. Adam McCullough's been talking on Last Man Standing, talking about Gareth Southgate. I mean, it's who's going to replace him, Jay? That's the question, isn't it? Adam McCullough has had his say.
Look, I think Thomas Tuchel as a coach is a great coach, and I think he would have done a lot better to be Gareth Southgate. The style of football thing is interesting, because would it be a style of football that gets the best out of the attacking players? Would it be a style of football that gets the best out of the likes of Phil Foden and co? I'm not too sure with Thomas Tuchel, but I do think he'd be more successful. I think when you look around, if you're going to go for an English manager, you're looking at Eddie Howe, Graham Potter, right?
Eddie Howe, Graham Potter might not last at Chelsea, so it kind of works as a timeline where Southgate chooses to leave and Potter's ready there. He's a project manager though. He doesn't. I
think he's a better coach than Southgate, but again, it's like he'd probably need some time and stuff. I think.
Does he have the gravitas to deal with those?
I think Pochettino, Tuchel. I even think, this might sound mad, Brendan Rodgers.
Tuchel, Pochettino, Potter, Eddie Howe. They're the front runners.
Macca there as well, saying Brendan Rodgers. Not on board with that one. What do you make of this whole England for the English argument? That was Adam McCullough as well, with Last Fan Standing and Bet Victor. Go over to Last Fan Standing and comment. Say that Stretford Paddock sent you. Get involved in the chat there. What do you make of this idea, this argument that the English managers should be English? The England managers, should be English. Said it right the first time.
I don't necessarily agree with it.
Right.
And I'll mention the stat of no managers ever won the World Cup with a country they aren't from. But then also, how many managers from countries that they aren't from have even gone to the World Cup? You tend to see it more, certainly this World Cup, with the typically smaller nations, footballing wise. that's, you see it more with sort of African countries and Asian countries.
Remember Sven managed Ivory Coast one tournament, didn't he?
Yeah, exactly. We've seen it with Denmark in the past.
Yeah, there's been a few. There's been quite a few.
Yeah, but typically, the big, likely teams to win a tournament, Italy, France, Spain, Germany, Brazil, England, if you want to put us in that bracket, Argentina, typically, Portugal as well, always have managers from their own country. So it would be difficult to win the World Cup with a manager you haven't had.
Also,
do you know what I mean?
On that front, you've named there, all the countries in Europe that usually are successful or do well. You have French managers that have won the French league. You have Italian managers that have won Serie A. Yeah. You have Spanish managers that have won La Liga. Yeah. The last time an English manager won the title was 1992. And it wasn't even the Premier League. No. It was pre-Premier League. It was Howard Wilkinson.
No English manager has ever won the Premier League.
So that's an outlier as well. So I think this whole thing, whilst it's a fact that no manager from outside a country has won the World Cup for that country, I should say, I don't think we can look at that as meaning it can't happen.
No.
And I don't think we can look at that as English fans, or if you are an England fan, I should say, and go, well, that means we can't have a foreigner managing England. Because I think, okay, Del Bosque went from, winning titles and Champions League to managing Spain, I think, didn't it? Luis Enrique's won the treble and managed Spain. We haven't got an English manager.
There is no one even close. Do you know what I mean?
Who's the last English manager to even win a trophy?
Well, we looked. It was Harry Redknapp in 2008.
Yeah,
with Spurs winning
with Portsmouth.
With Portsmouth, winning the League Cup.
You have to cut your cloth accordingly. Now, of the managers mentioned there, Pochettino, who I quite like, that'd probably be my personal choice.
Yeah.
Would the FA though? You have to remember, look at this through the FA's eyes. Would they appoint Pochettino, an Argentinian? Do they care about that? Thomas Tuchel.
What, is that because of the Falklands?
I just feel like
the problem with that?
For me, not.
No, but what
would
be the perceived problem with that?
I just think the FA might have it in their head, because I still think there's that element at Lancaster Gate. They're a little bit behind the times and a little bit sort of narrow-minded, where they might go, can we have an Argentinian managing the country, managing the England team? Does that not undermine us a little bit? And, we're sort of footballing rivals and the hand of God and all that. I don't think it's necessarily the Falklands, but
Simeone and everything.
Is that right? How does that make you feel? No, better not do that one. Also, Thomas Tuchel, a German. Can we have a German managing the England team? Yeah. I mean, you could even argue it's slightly xenophobic, but for me, and I'm not saying anyone who thinks you should have an England manager who's English is xenophobic. I'm just saying, if they were to go down that route purely based on those ideals, it is a bit wrong. I think because we've not got that many successful English managers, you talk about Graham Potter, he's just gone to Chelsea. Maybe they release him and go, you know what? Follow your dream, son. But again, what's he won?
And also, what kind of foundation is that to basically the team you're joining now is a very good team that is relatively consistent, won more knockout games than any other manager, Gareth Southgate. So this is a team that is used to winning. You now have to take them over the line to be a team that's used to winning trophies, not just winning games. How does Graham Potter do that? A man that has won fuck all in his life. And to be honest, I would say the same about Poch. I know he's won, a French League Cup and a French title.
French League, didn't he?
He won the French League as well, but he won it on his second time of asking for a team that had won it 8 years in a row before he got there. Didn't win it his first year, so it's not like he's a born winner. Do you know what I mean? He failed in the Champions League final with Tottenham. He did well to get him there, I'll admit, obviously. He did well with Southampton. But then he goes to PSG and does literally the minimum requirement. I don't see him as that person either. I think Tuchel would be a better option if there are picks. How Tuchel, Potter, Pochettino.
Even like Eddie Howe.
At least Tuchel can win trophies.
Flavour of the month at the minute because of what he's doing at Newcastle. Yeah. He's not won out. He got promotions.
He's won the championship.
He got sacked by Bournemouth. Yeah. So let's have it right. Jimmy F, who's been a member of the academy for 23 months, says, I'm with Joe. Get Josie in. Yeah, you were saying this.
Honestly.
You'd have Jose Mourinho as the manager.
And I'm not just saying this as like a laugh or because Jose's funny and he says all these things. He's genuinely the perfect candidate. And I've said why a million times, but international management isn't about getting some philosophy project manager to come in. It's about getting someone that can instill a team with a winning mentality, with a siege mentality where it's us against the world. We're going to do everything we can. Stop him. Fuck the press. They don't believe in you. Yeah. Fuck social media. They don't believe in you. We're doing this despite everyone else, not because of them. and instilling that mentality into teams is what wins trophies, is what wins finals. That's why Jose's only lost 1 or 2 finals, whatever it is. He's won trophies with every single club he's been at, including Man United, who have been shit for 10 years. We haven't won a trophy since he left. He's the perfect person to take over.
But there's this talk in there of him, this part-time thing with him in Portugal. Does that not worry you?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's obviously more likely he would manage Portugal than England because he's Portuguese, back to the old problem again. So who knows? But make sure you go out and check the Last Fan Standing podcast out. The link to that is in the description. Go over there, tell them Stretford Paddock sent you. Let them know who you think should take over after Southgate if he leaves. He might not leave.
No, I think it's in his decision.
Yeah.
I think if he says I'm going to stay, I think the FA will be more than happy with him to stay.
Yeah.
Because we're having a bit of a decent spell under him. I know it was not exactly been a great World Cup, but a semi-final, a final, and a quarter-final in your 3 major tournaments. I know the Nations League was a disaster, but yeah, I think
who cares about the Nations League, really?
I think he's stock within the FA. He's pretty high. Who's on next on our list?
João Felix.
Yep.
There you go. Felix available. Atletico Madrid's valuation of around 100 million euros is reportedly problematic. However, one option would be considering is presenting Atletico with a loan offer in January with an obligation to make the move permanent at the end of the season. Felix's Atletico teammate Alvaro Morata is also of interest after inquiries were first made in the summer. That is again from Rob Dawson, very reputable journalist. If he's saying this, I'm sure something is going on. He's of some attention. This makes not player sense, structural sense to me, because all of the rumours are we're a bit tight for cash this Jan because we overspent last summer. If you want money to spend this summer, which Ten Hag obviously will, then you're going to have to kind of...
Sorry, I was just pointing at because Adam McCall is in the chat. You just missed yourself, Macri. You just
Here he is.
You were just there with us.
If you want money to spend in next summer, you're going to have to not really do much this summer. He's essentially spending next year's money now by doing this.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, you get the player, but we won't pay for them until next summer. The obligation to buy option is basically you're buying them now, but you can put it on next year's books. Do you know what I mean? And that, I think, would make sense for United. I just don't think he's the right player.
No?
Because they've sort of tried to force him into this number 9 role for, 3-4 years that he's been at Atletico Madrid. They tried to do the same with Griezmann, and they kept playing Torres and then Suarez and then Morata up front. Like, no offence to João Felix, but if you can't get into the number 9 position ahead of Alvaro Morata or a 36-year-old Luis Suarez or what was before that, a 34-year-old Fernando Torres, then maybe you're not a number 9. I think he's an excellent player. He tore United up in a home and away.
Yeah.
But it's almost like he's more of a Bruno Fernandes or... not necessarily an Anthony, but kind of a wide midfielder like Foden or something like that, or even a Griezmann type player than he is put him up front. You can't cross balls to João Felix, really.
Yeah.
He's just not that type of player, so I worry that it's an option because he's available rather than because he's ideal. That's my only quarrel with this, but the structure sounds like something United do, doesn't it?
Is there a way that he comes in and he's another attacking option? And you've still got Martial down that middle. You can still use Marcus Rashford. I'm not a big fan of Marcus down the middle, but Eric Ten Hag has used him then. He's used him effectively. Yeah. So you can go, look, I've still got my striker options, and I've also got now another player who can play either off the striker, or you can maybe play him like you can have him on the left and move. You can move Marcus in the middle a little bit more often because you've got another player there. I've also got Garnacho coming through. I've got Anthony, obviously. I've got Sancho when he gets himself a little bit more up to speed. Like it's like you've got, I don't know, say 6 or 7 players there for the 3 positions. Do you know what I mean, mate? Could that be sort of you throwing him into the mix? Yes, he's not that number 9 that you think we're all crying out for, but he is another attacking option, and that gives you a little bit more rotational options, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does, and also it is worth obviously mentioning, and people will know this, but the City teams and the Liverpool teams that have done so well over the last few years have done so without typical goal-scoring, goal-hanging number 9s. City have done it basically. Their only striker at the club was Gabriel Jesus, and he was still second-choice striker, which is the most damning indictment I've ever seen. And Liverpool did it with Firmino, who was either injured or being a defensive striker. So none of them have, all the goals came from Mane and Salah for Liverpool. All the goals for City came sort of across the board from Mahrez and Sterling primarily, but then you got De Bruyne chipping in as well. So you don't necessarily need a number 9. or an old-fashioned number 9, and maybe Martial is enough of that. Maybe he's close enough to a number 9 that you can have Felix and Rashford and Anthony kind of rotating around him. But it just feels like you're taking a risk with that. When you think about who we're trying to beat to these trophies, can we produce the same way City can or the same way Liverpool can by getting João Felix? I'm not sure. That's my only worry.
You know what?
Do you want him?
I'd have him. But I think I'd rather have someone like a Cody Gakpo.
Yeah.
But, you know, like you say, I was impressed with him when we played him. He's not that the type of player we need necessarily, but he's a very good player. I think he was a bit unlucky as well when he went to Madrid. They overpaid for him massively.
Yeah.
He had
He's
one
a
good
£60 million
season.
player.
And then they went and spent, it was like 100 million, rising 120 million on him. And everyone's like, oh, he must be, and he was only about 19, wasn't he?
Yeah.
And everyone's like, he must be the greatest player ever.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, no, just because they've overspent, like, you know, it's like when we bought Maguire for 80 million.
Yeah.
Oh, is he the best defender in the world then? No. Well, he must be if you're spending that on him. So anything less is a failure.
He should have cost about the same as like Pulisic did.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like a very promising, not really. He didn't score that many. He didn't really assist that many for Benfica, but he obviously had the talent. They were really buying talent rather than proven goods. And then he's turned out to be pretty good, but not great.
There was, I think it was Danesh Seth from Sky Sports was saying there's still the possibility that there's no incomings at Manchester United in January because United are conscious of complying with FFP rules or whatever. I don't know the full ins and outs of that. You know what? We should speak to Danesh. We'll get him back on. We've had him on the channel a few times.
Yeah.
And we'll get him to explain himself and whether he feels like there is going to be any more signings or not.
Surely that would be more in line with us getting someone on loan for now, though.
Yeah, no, that would make sense. But we'll chat to him anyway, and he can explain that to us fully. Joe, where can people find you?
Over on the Sloppy Joe's podcast, obviously here on Stretford Paddock as well. New episode out yesterday. Go and check it out. Sloppy Joe's podcast on YouTube.
Yeah, go and check him out on the Sloppy Joe's. You know where to find me. I'll be back tomorrow morning with the news, and then we'll have Round Our Way as well. We've got Uncensored coming out soon as well, haven't we?
We absolutely have.
Don't forget as well, Stretford Paddock in Dublin. Me, Joe Smith, Adam McCullough, Stephen Howson, and Brian McClare.
Yes.
United's second signing under Fergie.
Yes.
Missed out because him and Viv Anderson were stood there and Viv Anderson signed first.
Unbelievable.
Oh, you'd be gutted, wouldn't you? Mind you, the 117 goals he scored for United and all the trophies he won probably made up for it. We're going to be in Dublin. Come and join us. There's a link in the description. We want to see you down there. We appreciate your support. That's been Joe. I've been Jay. This has been Paddock Live. Don't forget as well, check out Last Man Standing with Bet Victor and Adam McCullough. Thanks for watching.